Yeah, it's rather silly if you're not an England fan, but if you are an England supporter, then this song resonates deeply. It's almost like God Save the Queen, because football is coming home. The hymn, the anthem that the England fans latched on to from the 2018 World Cup, and they've been given impetus to sing the song by virtue of how the team has trended so far at the Euro 2020 Championships. They will play Italy, England will, in the final of Euro 2020. They beat Denmark 2-1 today after extra time in the second semi-final played at Wembley. Speaking after the match, the Jamaica-born England forward Raheem Sterling hailed the team's fighting spirit.
Yeah, it's a top performance today. We had to dig in deep. It's the first time we've conceded in a tournament, and I thought we regrouped well and showed a good team spirit to come back and win the game. As I said, we knew it was difficult going behind, then we got the equaliser, and we knew we just had to, stay patient. We knew with the legs we have in the team, the aggressiveness, the power, we knew it would just be a matter of time before we break them down, and we got the penalty in the end.
That's the Jamaica-born England forward, Manchester City's Raheem Sterling. The former TNT international Brent Sancho joins us now. Brent, how goes it?
I'm great. Listen, I'm around a couple English fans here, George, so it's a bit noisy. You know, they haven't made a final for quite some time, so they're enjoying every moment of it so far.
Yeah,
66 to be exact. Really.
Well, 65 years. It was in 1966 against West Germany in that World Cup final. So 65 years of pain and, let me invent a word here, Brent, nearliness. I think that's a good word to invent, yeah? Yeah, but with all that said and done, though, Southgate's men, they were expected to brush aside Denmark. I know many people who felt that the Danes were a speed bump in the road, a sleeping policeman, if you may, in the road. It didn't prove that way. The Danes had spirit, they had tactical nous, and they really gave England a good game. But in the end, the double strike from Harry Kane ensured that England are the ones who will progress to meet Italy. Your thoughts on the 120 minutes you saw?
Well, first of all, the last time these two teams met, of course, the Danes won 1-0. This was back in 2020. And of course, most would have suggested the way England have played so far in this tournament, it would have been a walk in the park. But of course, England have struggled so far with Scandinavian countries, and they've always struggled to get winning results against them. So I'm not surprised by the result in the sense that it went into extra time and it took England a bit longer to get the kind of result that they wanted. But I think at the end of the day, George, the best team won in the sense of the possession, in terms of the threat, in terms of what England brought to the game. I think the Danes struggled a bit, of course, to present anything in particular to really mount a threat to the English, and as it relates to possession, as it relates to goal-scoring threat from the Denmark perspective. I think England are worthy winners.
The fact of, this is the thing that, it's not that it's baffling, but I'm perturbed by it. From the first game of this tournament up to this point, Gareth Southgate has employed the double pivot of Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice. And I'm thinking to myself, there were games that I saw them play, there were teams they played against that I looked on paper and I said, you didn't need a double pivot to support your midfielders and your attackers in this game, in the particular game. He persisted with it right throughout, even used it today. Based on your experience, your knowledge of football from your playing days and of course of coaching, what is a coach looking to achieve by employing a double pivot, even against teams that he could still take the Lions' share of possession with just one of those two holding midfielders?
Look, George, I feel the same way that you do. And let's break it down and really look at this. England has not played, and all due respect to a lot of the teams that we've seen so far, they have not played anyone really of worth. When you look at their finalist opponent in Italy and the type of teams that they've played, England is not the same. And let's look at what Southgate has employed so far. You're correct. The double pivot suggests to me that defensively, there are deficiencies within England. For me, when you look at the type of players from an offensive point of view, George, when you talk about Sancho, when you talk about Grealish, when you talk about Rashford, the type of players, Foden, who of course go off the bench, it shows almost like England has the handbrakes up throughout this whole tournament. And they've been able to navigate themselves through this tournament with their handbrakes up. That's very important to note. They have not played anyone, and this is no smite or bite on any English supporter. Let us be correct in what we're suggesting here. England has gotten to a final, and I heard you talk about tournament football as it relates to the World Cup. You're correct. Tournament football is a lot different to anything else that we see in world football. Tournament football is who you draw in the next round, who you draw in the knockout stages. And let's be frank, England has not really drawn anybody that would suggest that they would have to go into an extra gear. Today they played, and all due respect to the Danes, a very average Denmark team, and they ended up in extra time.
My producer is whispering through to say England played Germany, but I'm disregarding the Germans because Brent, you have a few years on me. Even you and I together have never seen a German team as callow as this one is, so they don't count.
You're being very generous, my good friend. The German team that we've seen is nowhere close to the likes of a Klinsmann, a Matthias. Look, we could go on and on about what Germany provides.
And the goal scorers as well. And the goal scorers at the top. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Brent. And I persist. Just bear with me like a little bit more on the tactics. All right. So Southgate has the double pivot. And as you've said, it has worked for him because the team is in the final. But why employ, you have two defensive midfielders, which is what we're talking about a double pivot. You have, for those in TV land wondering, so you have two defensive midfielders, you have two centre halves, you have a right back, a specialist right back, Kyle Walker, you have a specialist left back in Luke Shaw. Then in front of them, you have wingers on both sides. You have a right winger and you have a left winger, whichever. Well, Sterling plays all the time. He plays on the left, so he's on the left. You play Saka sometimes. You play Jadon Sancho. You play Phil Foden on the right side. So you play with wingers, specialist fullbacks, two centre halves, and two holding midfielders. I just wanted to zero in on this part of the answer. What is it about the team structurally that causes the coach to go with that all the time? Why does he need so much security, Brent? Is it a weakness at centre half? Is it that he doesn't trust his fullbacks? What is he doesn't trust his goalkeeper? What?
You don't trust the centre halves, and I think that's exactly where this zeroes into. When you look at the likes of Maguire and John Stones, look, John Stones have had a horrific time at Manchester City for most of his tenure there. Only, of course, this season where he has come of age. And Maguire, there have been question marks as it relates to him. George, you're a Manchester United fan, so I don't even have to, of course, go into that discussion. And there's something there in the middle of the park. And you're right. Let's start to zero in. Declan Rice, of course, and Carl Phillips, they're nowhere close as it relates to midfielders in world football. Nowhere close in any discussion as it relates to midfielders. They're there simply to protect their back four. They're not there to start the attack. They're not there to give anything from an offensive position for England. And if you put them up, of course, against the like of anyone else in the tournament, they won't be in your top five midfielders. So why are they there? They're there to of course protect the back four. And when you're talking about protecting the back four, George, this is an England team that only has conceded one goal so far. And there's a reason why. Because they have extra protection all the way through this tournament, no matter who they played. And let me go back to what I said at the start. They haven't really played anyone so far.
So you're talking about them not playing anybody so far. They'll be up against Italy next game, and that's a big one for them, Brent. Is that somebody they're playing against?
That's certainly somebody they're playing against. The Italians, I've not seen, and I said this before on this program, I've not seen a team where their transition turning defense into offense, where they can make 4 or 5 passes and end up in the box and have a shot on goal. The Italians have been efficient. I think the Spanish game has shown a different side to them. When you talk about Italy football, you talk about defensive mastery. You talk about the likes of Chiellini, Panucci, defenders of like, I can go back through them, of course, Maldini, Baresi, etc. They have built their reputation on defensive ability. However, what I've seen with this Italian team is that they can turn that defensive stability into a potent attack very, very quickly. And George talked about, of course, the protection that the English have brought to their back four. But when you're talking about what we've seen so far from the Italians, I think it's going to be a very, very difficult game for the English.
Brent, we didn't even make mention of Harry Kane, and I have to say I felt as if he really grew throughout the tournament. At the start, Harry Kane, for me, seemed invisible. And of course, coming down to the end, he picked up the pace and, doing what he had to do for his team. What's your assessment of him?
The reason why Harry Kane is invisible because he is standing behind a Jamaican-born English player, Raheem Sterling. And I said that because I know a lot of our English fans like to put blame on Raheem Sterling throughout his career when he's not going well and call him the Jamaican-born. But guess what? He is Jamaican-born when they're doing well. And he's done extremely well. And the reason why Harry Kane has struggled, but he's not looked or shined is because Raheem Sterling has been the man. He has been the one that's carried this English team throughout. When you look at what he's done, he's been able to not only just score goals, but he is their main threat in attack. Despite the fact of what we've said about Harry Kane, what people think about him, yes, he scored goals, etc. But this has been the Raheem Sterling tournament so far. And if England is to go on to win, I think they need to knight my good friend from Jamaica.
Definitely. Well, Brent, you can't come on this show and not talk about our team, Trinidad and Tobago. They have qualified for the group stage of the CONCACAF Gold Cup. What are you expecting from them in this tournament?
I'm still having a carnival for us qualifying for the Gold Cup. So I haven't even gotten there as it relates to what we're doing it. I said to a lot of people, look, we've reached a stage in this country where we actually celebrate and get into the Gold Cup. I mean, I can't even believe we've gotten there as it relates to, we have such a pedigree in this tournament as it relates to, we were one semi-finalist, lost to Canada, of course, on penalty kicks. But now we are celebrating getting into the Gold Cup. That's what we've gotten to, Mariah. But hey, we've gotten there. I hope that we perform well. I think that we've seen a lot of deficiencies in the game against Guadeloupe. In our last game against French Guyana. However, we're there. We're in the final. I think Angus has done a tremendous job to get us there. And my fingers are crossed, and my red, white, and black is there, and my double stance is still here. I haven't traded in yet for Griezmann. So,
we're
I'm
trading
happy.
trading it for.
The style of the teams that they'll meet in Group A, everybody knows those styles, and those teams traditionally play those ways. International teams, of course, play a certain way and persist with that style far longer than club teams do. The Mexicans, I was saying to Mariah when she put a question to me earlier, that given the fitness of the team, and let's not kid ourselves, the team is not optimally fit, that's for sure. Angus spoke about that when he spoke just after taking the job, and these two games that they've played in qualifying would have brought them on somewhat, but it would be nowhere near where they optimally should be. That said, Brent, I'm suggesting that for the first game of the tournament, the last thing TNT needs is wanting to get 5-0 or a 4-0 or a 7-0 thrashing at the hands of Mexico, because that alone will destroy morale and mathematically destroy any hopes of going on to the next round. So I'm suggesting, and I want to know if you agree, that it should be a conservative approach that Angus takes. It will be a low block, a very, very low block for the team in that first game against Mexico, and then he'll have to use his substitutions wisely and hope that his attackers are in the frame of mind enough. If they get one chance, but they take that chance, and then they see if they can ride that through to the 90th minute.
Yeah, we talk about Mourinho and parking the bus, and Angus is going to have to get his own bus, a PTSD bus, to park in front of our goal against Mexico. And you're correct, George. At the end of the day, not just fitness alone. Yeah, we are struggling fitness, but I think we also have our challenges as it relates to our tactical deficiencies. We seem to be wrong in terms of our decision making. And that comes from the fact that, look, we've been through a COVID period where there's no football being played in Trinidad. And a lot of our players have shown that side of them where they just don't make the right decision. So what do if I'm Angus Eve? Yeah, you do. You pack the goal in front of you. Make sure you make it very difficult for the Mexicans. And as you rightfully said, George, one thing historically we've been good with against the Mexican is set plays. And if we can get a good set play into the box, I think we may just pop 1 or 2 in. But look, even if we lose the game 1-0 or 2-0, I still think that is a good result for Trinidad and Tobago, seeing where we have come from to where we are now.
Yeah, a 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, very good for morale, even though it's a defeat, because it shows you that you're not too far away if you're measuring yourself against one of the tournament favorites and you're not embarrassed. That's a plus. But as you say, qualification, I can't believe I'm saying this, qualification for TNT to the Gold Cup, cause for celebration. These are the times we're living in, my friend.
Yeah, certainly. It's sad ones, but hey, I still have my double Scott, my friend.
Keep it. All right, all the best to you. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, break time.